Let's bring on board Surajit Pal as well, who now joins in from Prabhudas, Lilladher. Surajit, you heard up my colleague Pankaj flagging off a whole host of factors that have kept the pharma sector abuzz. Let's start with the first one. The US FDA issues, that's been the big bone of contention with pharma companies, and they've been very company-specific so far. Do you reckon that, we could see, therefore, some of the other companies that have managed to steer clear from some of these issues continuing to perform better?
I think US FDA issue, though it is a company specific, but I found in last 6-8 months in 2019, their intensity of covering the company's plant and the observations and conversion of observations into warning letter has increased. So it will remain company specific, but it will take some time, because those guys who are stuck with these US FDA issues, they will have a lot of products are basically at this point of time are of no use, so they will be waiting for the new approval, and the competitive intensity has not down. In some of the companies has left some of the spaces, but the good one remain where they are. So it is not very positive, it is not very negative either.
Okay. Surajit, do you think pharma stocks are under-owned, leading to the flows that are coming into the sector right now?
Pardon, come again?
Do you feel that perhaps pharma stocks currently are under-owned because we're seeing a fresh amount of flows coming into the sector? And, how should perhaps investors be looking at some of these stocks currently?
I think the theme should be if you are getting more revenue mainly from, say, domestic market or some branded products outside India. I think that should be the theme, rather than focusing on the company who are heavily dependent on US or UK or Europe.
Also wanted to understand, Surajit, the love for MNC pharma clearly continues, while the domestic names are the ones which have been jumping up off late. Do you expect Indian MNC pharma to continue outperformance and dominance over the domestic players, or do you think the domestic stocks do have a chance to outperform?
I think MNC Pharma increased their prices in last 2-3 years quite a lot. I mean, if you compare the valuation with the domestic pharma company, there is a quite a big difference. So MNCs are pretty high valuation. In comparison to domestic companies, they are definitely lower than those valuations, but they are not very cheap either, because if you just compare the return or the valuation, that may not be the right picture. You have to also see the risk, potential risk to that. So from that perspective, they are where they are. It all depends on how much you grow your revenue from non-US market, and that will be the key for any company to pick your investment.
Okay. So just, I know you spoke of the entire sector as a whole. Do you believe that there are any top picks within the space as well, and, any potential for the MNC companies? Do you think that we can see some sort of a re-rating here?
See, directly comparing Indian companies with MNC companies may not be right, because first of all, the risk parameters are different, and MNC pharma company's valuation is pretty high, and MNC company is dependent mainly on Indian market, where these guys are pretty much all over the world, including Indian market. So on an average, Indian market contributes around 20-25% max. It could be possible, and plus the volume in MNC pharma is pretty less comparing to the liquidity of Indian companies. So it could be possible is that the fund could be coming more for large cap Indian companies to begin with, and MNC Pharma generally for a big fund it may not be that great, because they could not get much of volume to buy or sell, so there will always be a price impact to that. So I think some bit of might be rationalized, or there may not be new fund going to MNC Pharma rather than going to the Indian Pharma. In that way, you can look into it.
Yes, this morning, Surajit, and taking us through the latest action on pharma names.